So before we get started, I think you guys have done with the installation part of the Flutter. So if you haven't done with the installation part, I have uploaded the video of installation of what how to install Flutter. So you can check my video over there. Now, first thing first, what I suggest you guys is that all you need a computer of some sort to be able to develop for Flutter. And it can either be Windows or Mac, but make sure one thing: to build an Android or iOS, you guys must have minimum 16 GB of RAM, and you must have SSD. So, well, it really doesn't really matter at this stage, but in order to create Flutter apps, you can do it in on both platforms. But for making iOS build, you guys must have Mac. This is recommended. But if you want only Android build, then your Windows PC or laptop will be enough. Well, the next step of being able to develop Flutter apps, actually it requires us having some sort of code editor to be able to create Dart code so that we can build a Flutter apps. And the two contenders that you should consider are Android Studio and Visual Studio Code. And they are both pretty capable in terms of developing for Flutter. Well, I think most of people are quite familiar to Visual Studio Code editor. Well, if you guys have developers background, then you guys are quite familiar with this editor. Actually, it works fine, but with some limitations. Now, personal preferences aside, actually, we are going to be using Android Studio for this course. And actually, there are many reasons, including it makes it easier to work with the emulator. Well, it allows us to upgrade to Android X or Jetpack really easy, and down the line, if even if you are using Xcode, there will be places where you will need to use Android Studio anyways, okay? So we might as well commit to one platform, and the one that we have chosen is Android Studio. So now if you have a preference for Xcode, if you are using Mac, so you can use it, but just be aware that when we are using certain specialized tools that have been developed for Android Studio, you might have to quickly Google it and see that what is the equivalent for the Xcode. And now outside of Android Studio, IntelliJ and VS Code, I wouldn't recommend using any other type of code editor. And it's because we really do need a fully powered IDE to be able to hint and to suggest to code to us, and to be able to do code completion, and to be able to work seamlessly with our emulators, simulators, and running our apps on devices. Now the next thing is testing our apps. So when we are creating a Flutter app, and when we build it either as an Android app or as an iOS app, and as a Windows or a Mac user, you'll find it incredibly easy to run the Android counterpart of your Flutter app. So all you need is either a physical device or a emulator running Android. Well, I have also shared an article how to enable developers options on phone on my Facebook group, but later on I will let you know the steps how to download and how to set up it. Okay, so actually, what is the emulator? Emulator is a pretend version of an Android phone, okay, that's going to run on your computer, and both work just as well for the purposes of this course, the emulator and the physical device, okay. But if you are using Windows, so actually what I have experienced, it crashes too much. So it is not so preferable for you guys to make your build on emulators. I actually recommend you to make your build on phone or physical device. Now, on the other hand, if you want to test the iOS counterpart of your Flutter app, things get a little bit trickier. Now, traditionally, Apple has always been very sandbox. So, in order to develop an app and run it either on a physical iPhone device or on an iOS simulator, actually you will need a Mac, and this is the part that's quite difficult to get around. And the reason being that Apple has something called code sign in, and this is done for security reasons, so that when people download or sign in on an app onto their iPhone, that there isn't something malicious in them. And every app that gets deployed onto a device, actually it requires a certificate issued by an Apple, and to issue that certificate you are going to need a Mac or of some sort. Now what about the simulator? Because similar to an Android emulator, it's also just a computer program that runs on your laptop or on your desktop, and it simulates a real iPhone device. Now in this case, you are not loading it in onto a physical device, so you won't need a certificate for it. But the iOS simulator is a program that will only run on a Mac. So basically, you will find that in order to work with the iOS app and to be able to test, build, and to be able to put it on to the App Store, you will make your life infinitely easier by simply getting either a second-hand Mac, or if you don't have one, you might just have to borrow it from your friend for a couple of days while you do your testing and want to deploy your app to the App Store. Because for the most part, we are going to be doing our development using Flutter, and this is platform diagnostic. So we can do it on Windows or on Mac. It actually doesn't even matter. But if you are testing on iOS part, actually that's the tricky part. You need the Mac for it. Well, one more thing, what you can do for deploying is you can also purchase Mac on cloud. They will provide you on monthly basis subscription of like $30 to $80 or so. But for all that, all you need a developer account too, which will cost if you are going to deploy on App Store. Well, when you are deploying for the iOS App Store, the biggest problem for the developers that they face is getting their app approved. And actually, it's not an easy part to get your app into the App Store. Actually, apps can be rejected for slightly errors, which can be very frustrating for the developers who have specific ideas about how their apps should look and function. Developers have to take a great deal of time and care to make sure their app fit on Apple's standards and rules. Many apps get rejected on the first try. Okay, so but this isn't necessarily a bad thing. The app store's efficient app review teams give the developer clear feedback about why their app has not make it, or their app didn't make the cut. So the developers might be frustrated in the short term, but ultimately it become more skilled at mobile creation. While on the other hand, on Google Play Store, well, getting an app into the Google Play Store, it is an easier process. Apps have a low chances of being rejected on the Android app platform. So this avoids the frustration of the App Store developers faces and leaves developers free to experiment with their ideas. So the only downside of this freedom is that it boosts the chances of buggy apps heading out to users, causing frustration at their end. So as well as security concerns, it's also hard to stand out in a field of so many apps. And since apps aren't getting the kind of feedback the App Store provides, apps with a lesser chances of success go live and don't always succeed. Well, when you enroll yourself as an App Store developer, you need to pay $99 per annum or per year, and you get a plethora of developer resources at your disposal. And a developer receives 70% of the sales of the app. So the more popular your app is, the more you will make. But on the other hand, the Google Play Store, they charges a one-time $25 fees to become a Google Play developer. And then the Google Play console walks you through the app creation process. Developers also receive 70% of the app revenue and can publish as many apps as they want. So, however, most of the apps on the Google Play Store are free apps, and Android users seems more inclined to download free apps as opposed to iOS users who are used to paying for good apps. Actually, this forces the Android developers to think of the alternate ways how to make money with their free apps. Okay, now with some frequent asked questions. Now guys are thinking how to earn from Android apps. Well, there are several popular ways to monetize your Android app that are in-app purchasing, in-app advertisement, and subscription, freemium, and sponsorship. So how to earn money by uploading app on Google Play Store? So that's easy. You can earn money after uploading your app on Google Play Store by choosing one of the methods of monetization by showing the ads in your app with AdMob, charge users for app download, offer in-app purchases, charge monthly for access to your app, charge for premium features, find a sponsor and show their ads in your app. So, what is the best way to earn money of Google Play Store? Actually, in-app advertisement is the most popular and profitable way to monetize your apps by showing banner ads and getting clicks, and developer can easily make something around $1,000 and more per month. Now another question, that how to upload app on Play Store to earn money. Well, once you have created your app, then create Google Play developer account. You'll have to pay one-time fee, but I have already mentioned you that is $25 to Google. After providing your account, you will get access to the console and you will be able to upload your app. So how much money can I make from app on Google Play Store? Another question, that successful Android developers actually earn around something $5,000 with their Android apps on the Play Store. That's the success people that can earn. Okay, so now let's come back to our build part. Actually, the most crucial part, if you guys don't have Mac and you are developing your Flutter apps on Windows, so how can I get iOS build? Actually, there is a tool, Code Magic, which allows you to use continuous integration, build, test, and deliver your Flutter apps straight to the App Store. But again, I wouldn't recommend building an iOS app without ever having tested it on a real iOS device. So even if you need to borrow one or get a second-hand one, it's worth doing just to ensure that you get the best user experience and you have tested the app fully before to put it onto the App Store. So, as a summary, in order to develop Android apps with Flutter, you can use a Mac or a PC. All you need to download Android Studio and you are gonna need an Android emulator or a physical device. Well, in order to build iOS apps with Flutter, I recommend you that you must have a Mac that you can work with. And again, we are going to be using Android Studio and you'll need an iOS simulator or a physical device to be able to test your apps. Now, anatomy of a Flutter project. Alright, so before we get started, I wanted to quickly run through just what a Flutter app is composed of, or the anatomy of a Flutter app. And we are going to decompose it and we are going to break it down. So, as I mentioned before in previous lecture, that everything inside a Flutter app is a widget, and you build widgets upon widgets. So let's say that we decided to create a brand new app. So now come to the Android Studio. Let's open our Android Studio and build our first app. Okay, so now let's come and open Android Studio. Now it's getting open. Okay, now if you have any previous project open in your Android Studio, or either it is not open, you can simply go into the file and on new and open new Flutter project. Make sure one thing, if you are making any app, you must have write into small alphabetic letters, okay, and make sure if you are using underscore, that would be good and great, but don't use dashes in between, or don't use the same app name what you have previously used Otherwise, it will not let you go to through the next step, through the next phase. Okay. No, open into the new window in the same window. Now let's see. It's not critical that you know all about all of the files and folders that are in the project you just created. But if you're curious, let's quickly walk through a newly created Flutter project, a fresh Flutter project made by Flutter Create. You can also run it on your terminal. Well, you'll have all these folders right in front of your screen, and now you are watching different type of folders. So we will go through one by one, and I'll let you know and describe you what these folders are and what are their working, in which folder we will work a lot. So let's quickly have a look, and before that I will let you know how you can also create your Flutter app through the terminal, where you can write flutter create dot command to create your Flutter app. So now you'll have all these folders, Android and iOS folders. Actually, these are the platform specific parts of the Flutter project. For the most part, you won't need to touch these. And now the lib folder. Actually, this is the home of all your Dart source code. You will build your app's hierarchy over here. This is where you will spend nearly all of your time and attention. Now, the test folder. Actually, if you are having unit testing, and you probably should eventually, so you can put them over here. And now, what this .gitignore and readme.md file do? Actually, these will be very familiar to developers who use Git and GitHub for their source code repository. Others won't care. And now about the .metadata and .packages files. Actually, these are important config files which you will never open, but Flutter needs them to running your app. And now let's come to the most important file of our project, that is pubspec.yml file. And what is the pubspec.yml file? Actually, this is essentially the project file for Dart projects. And this is where we set up our project name, description, dependencies, and many more. Be sure to read the comments the Flutter team has done for you. Okay, so now one more thing. As you are seeing that dependencies is neither a space away from the left, but the SDK is of two spaces away from the left. Actually, it is considered as a child of dependency, and you can see another SDK and Flutter is also two spaces away from his parent. So make sure not to give or not to mess with these spaces. Otherwise, it will be considered as a child, or it will won't run your project if you mess with this spaces, and your project will be in trouble and it won't run either. So actually what you are watching on your screen in the green color, actually these are the comments done by the Flutter team. And if you want to remove these comments, you need to just control and backslash, so it will uncomment. But make sure, see, when I uncomment this, so there is another extra space has been added. So you have to delete this space and you have to also delete it down below because you need to make sure that every indent is of two spaces away. The first one from the left will be with no space. The next child will be after that will be of two spaces, and the grandchild will be of four spaces away. So please make sure not to mess with this files. Otherwise, what I have told you before, it would create trouble to your project. Okay, so YAML itself is YAML ain't Markdown language, and the tip for you guys is that be careful about indentation in YAML files. Actually, it is a human readable type of language that machine can also understand to interpret this kind of language. And how you want to configure certain things of Flutter project, well, there is one problem. It relies heavily on indentation, which means every line is right next to or up to the margin or the gutter right on the left. We have seen it before on the name of the project and the description of the project. They don't have any spaces on the left, and if they did, they would be treated as a new section. They would be treated as a child embedded in another section like SDK under environment. So that means we have to be really careful in writing on public YAML file. Okay, so now let's come and let's get set up your Avd Manager, which is emulator. And actually, I've installed some of them. Well, you can also create a new one, a new virtual device on your desktop PC or on your laptop. Actually, what you have to do, you just have to hit the play button, that green one, and it will open it, your Avd Manager, your virtual device. And now let's see. Actually, it's open right now. And what your Android Studio does, actually, it will automatically uh, detect your emulator, just like what you are watching on your screen right now. And now I'm gonna hit the play button, and let's see. It will install your Flutter first project. Actually, it's a demo project that has been created by the Flutter team for your ease. Well, this is the easiest way to run your Flutter project by hitting the play button on just right on the main.dart file and loading devices. And there's another way you can run your Flutter project. You can just go into the terminal where you can write flutter run command. So this will also do the same thing. All you need is to just write the flutter run command, and it will and hit the enter button. It will run automatically on your emulator if it is detected properly on the Android Studio. And now we just have to wait. Well, our emulator has been open, our app, and you guys can see the screen. Actually, I have just fast forwarded this part. So what we are going to start is what this code snippet is for. Let's see. The app hierarchy, the top main app hierarchy is starting from run app, and actually it is the entry point of our entire application. Here, one method, main method, is calling another method that is run app and passing one parameter that is new my app, what you are watching on your screen right now. Well, by this we are here trying to say that we have a widget that is my app, and it is the top level widget of our application. So now that is my app, actually it is also a widget which is defined over here. It is a class that is stateless widget. Actually, we will dive into more detail after some time. What is a stateless widget? And for now, actually, it is a widget that has no state. And for every stateless widget, there is a method called build context, and build method describes the part of the user interface represented by this widget. And you can also hover on it and can check the descriptions that Flutter framework has provided to you. You can also learn by this thing, and you can also check how it is used by just clicking by just pressing the control button and clicking on it. You will get to the code snippet. Actually, I have tell you in my previous videos that where you can find how to enable this short documents that is listed. You just if it is not enabled, it is just a check. You can also google it, and you just have to perform a little check, and after that it will show you the short documents. And it is very useful for you guys, so you can check it from there. And now come to our next line. Actually, the this build widget is also returning a widget that is material app. And what is material app? Actually, it is an application that uses material design, which is a design system that building UI. And material app is a widget that takes number of properties. First one is title, then it takes the theme, which defines theme data objects. And you can also see on the emulator, the Flutter demo homepage, that was a title, and the theme blue color, that was the theme in it. And now if we check our next class, that is class my home page. As you can see that my home page extends stateful widget. This is a widget that has a mutable state. And what actually mutable is? Actually, it is everything that can make a function return a different value despite it being called with the same arguments. And now we are going to be focused on our build method that is defined over here. As we have seen, my app class has also a build method, and there it was returning material app. So if we see this build method which returns a new widget scaffold, properties of scaffold are app bar, body, and floating action button. And actually, the things that you are seeing in golden color, like scaffold, material app, actually, these widgets are provided by the Flutter SDK. And in some cases, we are using these widgets such as material app and scaffold. And in other cases, we build our own widgets by extending a stateless widget or stateful widget. Well, in Flutter UI, actually, it is always defined declaratively, and it always with the case. All the code we write, the place where this happens is always going to be in the build method of the widgets that we define by composing widgets together in this fashion. We design a widget tree. So let me show you the diagram how it look like the widget tree. Okay, so here now that's our widget tree looks like, and actually the top level hierarchy and our widget tree is my app, and after that build method and material app, my home page, scaffold, and scaffold has some properties: app bar, center, floating action button, and app bar has a text child, and center has also have a child, and column and the text, and floating action has a icon button. So this is how the widget tree looks like. Okay, so now if you are stuck at some point and you want to learn and you want to see it, so you can hover it on the just I have hover on my app bar, so you can learn more into details by clicking just control and your left click button, mouse click button, and you can directly go into the documents. that Flutter framework has provided you. So here you can see what properties app bar has owned, and you can use them. Actually, Flutter team has very manageable and very decent proper documents that they have managed, and very well maintained documentation. So it will be same with the scaffold. You can also hover on scaffold and click on it and go through the documents and check what scaffold properties are used for, and that floating action button that you can use it in the scaffold. You can easily see it in this documentation. Well, now let's get to our first app, that's Hello World app, and let's collapse all these bars, this app bar, all this code. The one thing that I like with this IDE is that you can easily collapse all these things, and you can easily remove this thing by collapsing it without messing it with other code. So now we have our first app, that's Hello World app. So that's how we write the code that's shown onto your screen. And actually, if you have any programming development background, so you'll well known that Hello World is the first app or the very basic app, just to check that how the syntax is and how it works. Just to run, it's just like a demo app. So now let's move on to our next section, and let's check a summary that what we have covered till now. So actually that was the part where we are developing our Android apps on emulator. So let's run on the physical Android. Let's learn how to run on the Android physical device too. That's are the steps what we have previously seen, and I've also shared an article regarding this. If you guys still didn't figure it out how to enable debug mode, you can just comment it in the comment section and ask me, or you can visit the group so you can check the steps, or you can easily find if you just google it. Okay, so now these are the steps to find and locate your build number. That's actually differentiate from different mobile Android mobiles. And once you will get it to your build number, you just have to tap on it 7 times. Once you will tap on it 7 times, then you will pop out a message of developers options enabled. After that, just enable the developer option mode. Then you have to enable USB debugging mode by just plugging in the USB cable onto your laptop or PC. And after that, trusting your computer if it is prompted on your device. So then you just have to run your app from the Android Studio. So that was the requirement for the Android devices. Now come to the iOS device. For iOS device, you just have need an Apple ID and an iPhone device or iPad device, and the thing that it will not run on Apple Watch or any other type of Apple devices. Just keep that in mind. And after that, you will need Xcode to make build. And so actually it's a little bit trickier part of using Xcode is that your version must be 2 versions away before of your software version. If you are using 12.2 just shown in the figure, so your version must be 2 versions away back with your Xcode version. Your Xcode version will be 10.2, 10.1. it doesn't matter, but it just have to be 2 version previous. So let's see how to enable developer options in iOS device. Actually, these are the steps what you're watching on your screen. Actually, it differs from device to device sometimes. So if your device is not looking familiar, you just have to Google on it, and you'll find that how to enable uh, developer options. Okay, so these are the steps. You have to check the iOS version, either it is compatible with the exclude version, install Homebrew, use Homebrew to install iDevice installer and iOS deploy and Cocoa Pods. And after that, you just have to add an Apple ID to Xcode, select development team, connect your phone to with your USB, trust your computer, and trust your development certificate phone, and create a unique bundle ID. All that you will find on their official websites very easily. So at last, let's have a look at the difference between debug mode and release mode. Actually, debug mode is that what we are using in during development. So when you want to use hot reload, and release mode is that when you are ready to release your app once you are finished with your app. So you will use release mode. Okay, so let's end up over here, and we'll meet you in the next video. Till then, take care of yourself. And if you like this video, please make sure to click on the subscribe button and like the video. For watching the video, take care.